So I just wanted to make a quick video that documents a recent make scenario that I just built out and basically just open up each module and show you exactly how I configured it. Hopefully this can be helpful to someone who might be looking to do something similar. So in this scenario, I basically built a flow that, well, filters and forwards instantly replies. So basically instantly is a cold email sending platform. And so you can send cold email at scale using their platform. And basically what I've done is I've created this webhook in Instantly for a specific campaign. And basically whenever a reply is received for that specific campaign, it'll fire a webhook, and then in Make we'll pull specific data points from that campaign. So we're getting like the reply text, the subject line for the email, the person's information, and we're using those data points throughout this flow. So we can forward their information to the salesperson and update positive replies or potentially positive replies in a Google Sheet. And so basically, this Instantly webhook is just that. It's like I said, I set up a webhook within Instantly for a specific campaign, so that when replies come into that campaign, we can pull that data. And then I'm using a Chat GPT module to analyze and categorize each reply that comes in. And I'll show you exactly how I configured this module. So for message one, this is always going to be a system prompt, always starting with a system prompt that gives the model something that it can identify as respective to the task at hand. So in this case, you're a helpful and intelligent assistant that analyzes and categorizes incoming emails. For message two, there's a user prompt. So this is basically just delineating the exact task that it's responsible for. So for message one, the system prompt, it's telling it what it is. And then message two, the user prompt, it's saying what the task is. So you're monitoring a sales inbox that receives replies. Your task is to categorize emails as either yes or no. Respond yes if the email is an unsubscribe, stop, or out of an office message. Respond no for any other replies. And so basically this bit is just explaining that if we get an out of office or unsubscribe or this person's no longer at this company, then we'll want to unsubscribe them from receiving future emails from those types of campaigns. And so they go down this path where no further action is taken within make.com, and instead they'll just be taken out of that list on the tail end of that campaign. Whereas if they are a positive reply, they'll go down this no path. So any reply that's not out of office or this person's no longer working here or hey, please stop or unsubscribe me, anything that's not those, any other message will go down this path. And so we'll forward the contact's information, the actual reply that they sent, we'll forward that to a salesperson and then update that information within a Google Sheet. So going back to this GPT prompt, for the third message, this is another user prompt. And so this is saying, it's basically the first exemplar. So it's giving an example of how it should categorize this type of response. So I'm basically saying here, hey, ChatGPT, if you get this response that says, hi, thank you for your email, please note that this person is no longer with the company, then I want you, and this is specified within this assistant prompt, it's saying, hey, if you get this, I want you to reply yes. So basically, if someone is no longer with the company, then they'd be unsubscribed. They'd go down this path and eventually be taken out of that list. And then message five, I give it another example. So I'm saying, no, thank you though. So in this example, ChatGPT would categorize this as yes, because it's a negative reply. So we want them to be categorized as either unsubscribe or out of office, like I said. And then we have another user prompt. This one is very straightforward, right? Please unsubscribe. Obviously, we want them to go down the yes path. And then we have another user prompt. Hello, thank you for your email. I'm currently out of office. So that would obviously be another yes because that's an out of office reply. Message 11, we have another user prompt. In this example, it's saying, hello, thank you for your email. Sounds interesting. And then as you can see, the assistant prompt for this one says no, because in this case, we'd want to forward this as a positive reply to the salesperson. So that's why we have no there. And then I have another example that I'm feeding it. So, hey, ChatGPT, if you get this message that says, please reach out to Carly, this person, at their email for any inquiries, we'd want that to be a positive reply because it's showing potential interest, obviously. So we'd send them down the no path, which would, of course, send them to the salesperson and update their information in the sheet. Another example that says, thanks, but we are a full production facility and have most of our own gear. We occasionally max out on our gear and don't get sub rentals to fill out shows, but I don't think renting from a house in New Jersey would make much sense since we're located in North Carolina. So this is a bit ambiguous, right? It's not necessarily negative or positive. Maybe there's certain, there might be some things that you might want to reach out to this person to follow up on, maybe. And so in this case, we're still sending that to the salesperson for them to decide if this would be a message worth following up on. And this is another example for what would be considered a potentially positive reply. So thanks for reaching out. I've copied in our email for new production partners, and our vendor relations manager will be in touch. Um, thank you. So yeah, this would also be a no reply because it's expressing potential interest. And so as you can see, I'm just giving tons of different types of context and different examples into this module so that it is equipped to analyze these replies appropriately. Because like I said, sometimes the replies are straightforward, but other times, like in this example, they're not so straightforward. It's a bit ambiguous as to whether or not it's a positive or negative reply. So in that situation, we'd still want to we wouldn't want to leave this type of lead on the table, so we'd still classify it and as a potentially positive reply and send that to the salesperson. And then finally, there's this user prompt. So this is the actual text that it'll be looking at when we actually run it. So it's the final user prompt, and it's just feeding in the reply text. So basically, when the webhook fires, when a reply is received, this is the actual content of that message. Next, we have a router. So routing either down the yes path, which is unsubscribe, out of office, person's no longer here, or the no path. So it's just using a simple router and filtering using the filter, and I just specify it by grabbing the message content from this ChatGPT module. And then in this forward email module, basically it's just taking the subject from the reply. So whatever the subject was in the message that was sent out, it'll just pull that from the webhook and it'll stick it in the forwarded message. So it's the same. And the exact text content that the person replied with, we're just listing that in the email that we're forwarding itself so that they can see what they actually said. So that's pretty self-explanatory, and same with the adding to the Google Sheet. Basically, just set up this sheet here where it's just listing specific information about the campaign that we want to keep a record of. So in this case, the name of the campaign, the email of the person that replied, the step of the campaign. So if you're sending like 5 emails in a given campaign, it's good to know which email they replied to. So in this case, it would have been the very first email. Company name, reply text, so the actual reply that the person sends. And of course, this is just dummy data that I filled using a set multiple variables module just for the purpose of this testing. And so in that module, we're just mapping those variables that we're pulling. Basically, any of the information that we want to update the sheet with is what we're pulling from the webhook, and we're just sticking it right in here in the Google Sheet module. If you have any questions, please let me know.